Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Ed. Today I'm going to be talking about Mara, Marathon, Patent Group, and Corporations. I'm going to go briefly through technical analysis, and then I'm going to go through everything I can find about this company in terms of news, what is yet to come, what is Bitcoin mining and how it's going to be different in the next future, blockchain rewards and Bitcoin mining reward or block rewards, and anything I'd find. Make sure to drop a like to this video if you like this video at the end, share it and subscribe, and let's jump right into it. So on a 1 week perspective, what we get to see here is a negative reversal that was seen on the week of 20th of September. It's still in the trading action zone, bounced right back into potential positive reversal. ADX shows in a very strong trend here that was initiated around 525, but it hasn't dropped back to 895, so that's why the ADX is still high. William %R puts this one at overbought on a 1 week perspective. Moment is a little bit slipping, but unbalanced volume looks like it's actually back up to the highest it's ever been. Moving averages looks bullish, although it looks like it might be attempting to go through bearish, as you get to see the 10 SMA is diving closer towards the 30 EMA. Next thing, 1 day perspective. We get to look into a 1 day perspective here just to try to understand more of a daily trend. ADX shows in a potential of a trend forming, but right now it's falling down, so that could be a negative trend from 311 all the way down to perhaps 240. And then William %R is putting this one oversold at the current level. MACD shows in a massive bounce back, and then it's kind of falling back into a negative reversal. Volume is dripping down. So usually a really good warning sign is when you see high volume, lower volume, then you should sell at the next day. High volume, low volume, you should be selling somewhere around this day. So that's what we're seeing. Lower interest in the stock is what I'm trying to say. I'll explain why in a little. Momentum here looks like it's dripping. Moving averages are actually going bullish than bearish, so they're even more bullish. Although the 50 SMA is dipping down, you want it to kind of jump back up. But the 10 SMA and the 30 EMA gap is increasing, and so the trading action zone becomes bigger. So that means it drops all the way to 231, it can bounce back. 1 hour perspective, merely into the next few hours into Monday. What we get to see here is a potential green through the MACD going positive. Moving averages looks bearish though, and ADX shows in sloppy. So it's sloppy with a potential a little bit off green onto Monday morning at least. Moving averages. The band here is trading 202 in the bottom, 225 in the middle, and 247 in the top, but it hasn't traded into the moving averages for a while now. Stochastic fast and slow. Stochastic fast and slow doesn't yet show it's curving downwards. It's more very similar to this area here, as you get to see. A little bit even this area here. So it does show that, well, it's actually running right now, this uptrend. But it doesn't show that it's actually ending anytime. Well, it doesn't show it started to end. Although what we want to look into the previous charts, such as this area here, starting to mimic this area here. So this shows in there might be a little bit more of a further push, but it hasn't finished yet. Taking a quick look into Fibonacci retracements, we're just gonna start at the 525 mark and then dip all the way down to the 35 cents. Current support on the Fibonacci retracement sits at 222, above their resistance at 280, above their 338, and a bottom support at 150 on the Fibonacci retracement. If we were to try to identify significant supports and resistances, a significant support sits at 251. Below there, I'd say around the 212 mark. That's a significant one. Below there, we're looking at 183, 174, and then most importantly, 149. Significant resistances is the 310, and then above that we're looking at 342, above that we're looking at 384, and then following that 418. Now let's jump right into anything I can find in terms of news and everything that I could find on their website. I do think this one has a bit of an interest coming up in the future. So this is their website here in terms of the marathon. And so why are we looking at MRA and why are people interested in MRA? Big thing is that Bitcoin has rallied up, and this is the trading view chart for Bitcoin with the USD currency. we get to see it's at an all-time high for the last 6 months. And the news that came with this one is PayPal starting to accept Bitcoin as a payment, and it's really coming very close to around the 5-year high. It's climbing up really high over there. I think the last time it's ever been this high would be 15th of January 2018. And before there, it's basically just had more of 3 months where it was higher than this mark. So it really sits up there at a really high bullish price point. But we don't see this jump that Mara has. In the last 24 hours, we've increased around 1.36. The question is it going to run like it did last time? I believe last time around this area, it ran up, Bitcoin ran up to around the 12,000 mark from, I believe, the 10,000 or 9,000 mark. And Mara went from somewhere around, I believe, let's see, around $1 to $5, so 500%. The question is it currently priced in this kind of price point? We're talking about from 9,000 to 12,000. That's not 500%, but a lot of people who play Bitcoin are actually leveraging up. So that could be a point where, okay, they kind of got the 500%. Right now, what's actually happening is that it's still trading around 270% from where it was on July. I'm talking about Mara. So that would be somewhere around 20,000 onto the Bitcoin, let's say, give or take. Trying to lower down as much as I can in terms of Bitcoin price estimate. 20,000. So it kind of is at some point priced in, but the expectations is that this jump hasn't yet been priced in into Mara, and that's why a lot of people are requesting, and they want to find out what's going on here. I'm going to go through everything in the SEC filing, and that might give us a little bit of an insight. So first of all, what is mining? And that's based on the company itself. So Bitcoin is a digital currency. We all know what it is. It's basically, you got Bitcoin gives you more of a block reward based on the mining. So the amount of Bitcoin awarded earned for successfully mining / verifying a block. You got your hash rate and mining Bitcoin. I'm not going to go through the exact details, but mining for Bitcoin is the process of transaction in the digital currency system in which the record of current Bitcoin transactions, known as the blocks, are added to the record of past transaction, known as a blockchain. And so the average number of Bitcoin mined each day is the block reward multiplied by 6 times per hour multiplied by 24 hours per day. As May 11th, 2020, their average was around 900 Bitcoins per day. And so I couldn't find exact details about the block reward, current block rewards in terms of numbers, but I found how it kind of lowers down by time, and I'll go through this in the end of the video. Now, the big thing is that 900 Bitcoin worth more now than it did like a month ago, or when it was 9,000. Right now it's at 13 something thousand. That is where the price point has increased. Presentation here on their website. I'm kind of disappointed I couldn't find any presentation on their website. I'm pretty sure either someone forgot or it's glitched. I'm pretty sure there's presentations out there, so if you find it, please mention it in the description below and I will retweet it on Twitter. Now, coming in towards the latest news. October 19th, the Chief Financial Officer retired from Mara, and Simon Salzman has taken that role as CFO. He was the Senior Vice President of Las Vegas Monorail Company, a private nonprofit 501c entity since July 2018. The Las Vegas Monorail Company operates a driverless monorail transit system that carries approximately 4.6 million passengers over a 3.9 elevator track. There, Mr. Salzman was responsible for overseeing all financial functions, including audit, treasury, corporate finance. In addition, he was responsible for internal control, compliance, and management strategy. So it looks like he does have, as a CFO, a previous experience. Before there, he also served as a CFO for Wendo Media and Corner Bar Management for over 3 years, and so he does have experience as a CFO previously. Going on towards previous SEC filings, we get to see on the 30th of September, there's been a lot of added shares at around almost $2. 84,675 from Crawford James, and then following that from Okamoto Merrick D, having around almost 770,000 shares at the exact same price on the 30th of September. Following that is their acquisition for the project build of their phase 1, that is approximately $14 million. And if you remember, in my previous video a while ago, I did talk about the expansions that they have in terms of purchasing a new assets or new real estate in order to make a new equipment to make sure that they can run more mining. I'll explain why that is needed a little bit later. There are all costs covering all equipments and labor needed, starting from the power coming off the generation station distributed down to the running the actual miners, including breakers, transformers, switches, containers, PDUs, fans, network cables, and like. So they basically are buying an all kind of put together one. Meanwhile, that is exciting. I need to go through how they'll pay for it, right? And they already have phase 1 already approximately costs around $14 million. Phase 2, basically the way they're going to pay for it is they provide, so Default and 2PI will provide operations and maintenance service for the facility, and in exchange for initial issuance of 3 million shares of Mara. Upon the completion of phase 1, Mara will issue them 150,000 shares of its common stock. During phase 2, they'll issue 350,000 shares of their stock, 150,000 shares upon reaching 60 megawatts of facility load, and 200,000 at completion of the 100 MW of the facility load. The cost of the maintenance will be around 0.006 kilowatts hour. All shares issued under Data Facility Services Agreement are issued pursuant to transaction exempt from registrations under Section 4A2. So basically, they are paying they're paying for this, or a major part of the maintenance and operations for phase 1 and phase 2 by shares. So a lot of that shares are going on towards people that probably want money instead. So there might be some dumping there as we go forward. Next one here is basically how they're going to be paying for all this kind of expansion. And the really interesting thing is the total purchase price of around $24.8 million. That is insane, especially once I show you how much cash they have on hand. But they have basically an idea of how they're going to be paying for it. 20% of the total purchases shall be paid by an unrefundable down payment within 48 hours of executing the agreement. The agreement was executed all the way back in August 13th, so that's been done. September 20th, they needed another 20%, so 40% is done. 10% bought before October 10th, 50% is done. So you have around $12.4 million left. But I'm going to be assuming 24.8 in the cash flow just because that's where the last 10Q they have. They don't have, I don't believe they released a 10Q for quarter 3 yet, at least not updated on their website and SEC filings. Company shall pay the remaining 50% of the total purchase price in equally monthly installment, due not less than 55 months the day prior to the scheduled delivery of the products as follows. So the start will be coming in basically at January 2021, so you have time. So in terms of seeing a massive offering, I don't expect that until perhaps later at the end of the year or in January. So we still have time, and you get to see basically monthly from January, February, March, April, May, June, etc. Now moving on to their cash flow, $775,000 is their current cash. When you include it with deposits and everything, they have around $5.8 million in total assets that are current assets. Other assets that they have, it all accumulates down to $10.7 million. So liabilities they have is around $1 million. Total liability stockholder equity is around $10.7 million. So they have a lot of their money is paid in capital, around $119 million. In terms of revenues from cryptocurrency mining, you're going around 286,000 compared to 355,000 previously. Although in the 6 months ending for June 2020 and 2019, you see 878,000 compared to 586. So in 6 months period, it looks like we're actually seeing a bit more money coming in towards 2020 than compared to 2019 on the 6 months. On the 3 months period for June 30, we see they're very much comparable. Total operating expenses though has increased almost double for 2020 compared to 2019, and so your operating loss goes in a lot higher for 2020 than 2019. That doesn't look good. Now, when we're looking at the total net loss, 3 times for 6 months ending June 30 for 2020 compared to 2019, and the net loss of around 4 times more for 3-quarter ending 2020 to 2019. Remember, look at this loss. 2.161, and the cash 757.75. We're looking at total current assets 5.8. Now I do understand that they do have capital, let's say as Bitcoin, so they can fund their money coming from there, but I'm pretty sure the crypto mining revenue is the Bitcoin money coming in. So that is something to be considering on. Their financials don't look that good. And that really becomes something interesting to me. $100 million is what their shelf offering is set at, based on the document that was submitted not a long time ago. That was in the last 2 months. And so they have around the right of selling around $100 million worth of shares. They haven't said the maximum offering price yet. Next, we're looking towards, well, we already looked into Simon Salzman as their new CFO. So what we're doing next here is basically trying to explain a little bit on how mining will change in the future. So what is Bitcoin mining, and is it still profitable? Now, some of the key takeaways from Investopedia is Bitcoin mining, of course, is used to verify block transactions as mentioned on their website. And as time goes on, it becomes more complicated to actually proceed with it. And so basically it's expected, and let's move on here, it basically halves the miner's reward for successful completing for one block halves every 210,000 blocks, or an average of around every 4 years. So initially in 2009 it was 50 Bitcoin, and then it goes to 25 Bitcoin, 12.5, 6.25 is in 2020. So in the next one is around 2024, you're probably going to have, well, less. You're going to have 3.15 Bitcoin. And basically it's estimated, there was an estimate that the amount is expected to hit zero around 2140. That's a little bit ahead of time, but it still goes on dramatically lower and lower and lower. So in theory, the company right now is going through massive losses. But in theory, one or two things that need to happen, all right? Every 4 years, the price of Bitcoin should double for them to basically stay at the current level. I mean, they're not profitable right now. That's something to remember, right? But to continue on the same level. This is the 5-year period, and we get to see from 2016, around, let's say around this area, it was 758. And then right now is around 13,000. So to be fair, that actually still is profitable. Now, if we go back and look at 2014 to, let's say, 2018, 256 every 2 years is almost, I'd say, jumping up. But this is the massive run, because if you look at 2017, all the way to 2019, 4 years, you still see a massive drop, going from 19,000 all the way to around 3,000. Around 13,000 for the Coinbase, all the way down to 3,360. Massive differences in volatility. So one or two things need to be happening in order to basically stay profitable per se, or stay at the same level. Every 4 years, the Bitcoin has to double, or every 4 years, the company itself has to double their operations. That costs a lot. There's also another, basically the combination of the price and their operations has to double every 4 years. So it becomes a little bit unsustainable after a certain point. I mean, how far does Bitcoin go? It has a limit, right? Let's say that limit is at $100,000 per share, per Bitcoin. But is it sustainable forever? I mean, by 2140, the amount is expected to hit zero. So that means within the next certain period of time, this becomes a lot harder to maintain. That is something to think about. Next thing. Oh, and as well is if Bitcoin becomes a lot more adapted, wouldn't that mean that the blocks, the rate of blocks that are created probably decrease as well? Increase. So that means 210,000 blocks, the amount of reaching there would probably take less than 4 years. That is my thinking towards this one here. Next is the block reward versus the time. And you get to see the block reward has decreased every 4 years. That's basically halving. And then the block reward that's in the USD, price in USD, it still has increased dramatically. Except when it comes in towards 2019, and that's a massive drop it's seen. But in 2020, that as well still has increased back. I'm pretty sure on that. And there's something here missing, is that block reward is right now, instead of 12.5, it's actually 625. Not a very much of an updated graph, but this shows it from 2011 to 2019. But you gotta remember that this is the massive Bitcoin hype started to pick back up again. So what do I think about the stock? What do I think is gonna happen? Short term, I think this one can easily be pumped back up. You know, pumpers are gonna be back as soon as Bitcoin comes in through the weekend. It's a new high, or a 52-week high for Bitcoin. It's not been this way forever. Buy Mara, and you'll find a lot of people following them. Now, you should be smarter than them. You should recognize that this is just a trade. It's not an investment. It could be an investment, but they're issuing share, or they're paying their customers with, their vendors and the people who are running and operating with shares. Next thing, they're actually spending a lot in terms of the capital. That they're not profitable yet. Their burnout cash rate is insane versus their revenue. Bitcoin block reward is halving every 4 years. It's right now at 625. Will Bitcoin it either have to double their operations, and that means higher expense runs, or the only way for this one to even break even, I'm not talking about being profitable, is for Bitcoin to double in price every 4 years. And if you want to make it profitable, then you better be even doubling even more and more and more. So I do expect to see a run, or an uptrend. I mean, you get to see this uptrend. This is high lows, high low, high high, high high, high lows, high high, high lows, and then you expect another one. So it kind of probably oscillates on there. If I'll play it, I'll definitely play it with a stop limit. I would say somewhere around 251, but for me, it looks like it has potential. What do you think about this sticker? Make sure to mention down in the comments below. Share, subscribe, and like. You have a wonderful day.